Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another edition of Homemade. And today, you all, we are making an easy, I would say, Southern favorite because um, probably the only place that I've actually been able to really just find these is kind of in the South. Every now and then, you may be able to find somewhere that sells them, you know. I would say in a northern state, but it's really kind of rare. But here in the South, you all, we love these. And it is fried chicken livers and gizzards. Now, I know some people may be like, ew, but I actually love these. We love these in our house. Now, I try not to fry a lot of food. Here, but one of the things that we actually love to eat is fried livers and gizzards. And y'all, it is so easy. I know one of my things is I like a crunchy outside or a crunchy crispy coating, and sometimes you can just find them where they just have the minimum amount of bread around them, and even if you find it with the bread on it, sometimes it's halfway falling off. So I'm going to show you how to achieve a crispy outside, but of course you're going to be able to enjoy the inside. And I'll say this, if you've never tried fried chicken livers or fried chicken gizzards, I dare you to give this recipe a try. So again, it is so simple, you all. We are just using our basic, you can use all-purpose or self-rising flour. It is totally up to you. In here, I've already prepared my bread. I have my flour, and it's about 2 cups of flour. To that, I added my baking powder, baking soda. I used Cajun seasoning, paprika, and I also used a little poultry season. Now, the good thing about this breader is it is not salty. When you are using garlic powder, onion powder, things like that that don't contain a lot of salt, the good thing is you can add as much as you like to obtain the flavor that you want without having the salt overpower your meal. So again, I use a lot of powders. I didn't use a lot of salt. The only thing in here that does have salt is the Cajun and the Creole seasoning. The poultry seasoning has a little bit, but not so much. The brand that I use, it doesn't have a lot in it. So because my breader is not heavily seasoned with salt, I am going to just lightly season my livers and my gizzards with some salt and pepper. We're not going to make a slurry, you all. We are just going to use plain cold water. Trust me, it's going to work. So I'm going to go ahead, and the first thing we're going to do, I do have my grease already preheated. Now, I'm not frying this in my electric fryer. I'm just going to go ahead and fry it in my boiler. And the way that I like to test my grease is I like to take a skewer and stick it in there. If no bubbles start to form around the skewer, that means your grease is not ready. So that means I can go ahead and start preparing everything. Now, typically, I would say you need a wet hand and a dry hand with this. It does help, but if you forget or if you choose not to have a wet hand and a dry hand, it's totally fine. So we're just going to sprinkle just a little bit of salt, and we're going to sprinkle a little pepper. Now, I just like to season them a little bit, but our breader, it is full of seasonings. Not salty, it's just seasoned. So there is a difference between salty and seasoned. Our breader is very seasoned. Now, when I am working with anything small that I'm frying, I like to use, I call this my colander spoon, because I'm able to scoop it, the grease is able to drain off, and then I'm able to put it onto my wire rack. Now, I could go ahead and start preparing these, but With this, I'm not, because again, we're not using a slurry, we're just using water. So I like to basically dip them and put them directly into the grease, and it just helps with that crispiness. Now, if we were doing a slurry, it would be a little bit different, but with my livers and gizzards, I just found just plain water works really well. Now, when I take these out of the grease, you do want to let them rest because they can be very hot. With my gizzards, anybody knows that's eating gizzards that they can have a tendency to be tough. So what I do like to do is I like to take them maybe like an hour or two before, dump them out, wash them really well, and I've already washed my livers and my gizzards, so you don't have to worry about that. But I like to wash them really well, and then I like to basically take my gizzards and place them into a simple brine. And in that brine, you all, I do put a little baking soda. I put salt, and I also put a little sugar and vinegar. And I have found that this does tenderize them a little more. Now, I do take them out of the brine and wash them really well after that hour or two before I start to prepare them. So if you want to have tender gizzards, just try that. So I just like to give them a quick toss. And just to show you what I mean by testing your grease, I'm just going to take a pinch of my flour. And if you can see that it's starting, you see how it sizzled? So that means that our grease is ready. So what we'll do, I just like to take about 4 or 5 of them. We're going to toss these in our breader. Now you do want to make sure that you do not overcrowd your fryer, because again, our goal is crispiness, not sogginess. I'm going to take that, dip it, throw it back in there, do the same. And you just want to make sure that everything is coated, because it doesn't take long for these to fry, you all. I promise it doesn't. So I'm just going to toss those into our breader. So let's just go ahead. We're going to drop our first one in there. And I want to make sure that it's actually frying. And it is. Now I'll drop the rest of them in there. And I would say the frying time typically takes anywhere between 5 and 10 minutes. You don't want to overcook them because you don't want to get a tough inside, but you also want to make sure that they're done, but it does not take long. So we're going to go ahead, let those finish cooking, and as soon as we're done with all of them, we are going to come back and sample this good. And look how crispy and crunchy those look. And just to show you that they are crispy. Can you hear it? Now, I like to eat mine with ketchup and hot sauce, so I have some ketchup there. They are so crunchy. So crunchy. When you try this recipe, because you will try it, make sure you leave your comments. Let me know if you like the recipe. Let me know if you've ever tried fried chicken livers and gizzards, if you have or if you haven't. But make sure you leave your comments in the comment section below. Leave your pictures. Let me know if you change something about the recipe. It is so simple. So simple. Now, if you want to keep seeing our easy homemade recipes, make sure you like, subscribe, and share our channel. As I always say, cooking is as easy or as hard as you make it, but I promise you, if you just keep it simple, be yourself, life in itself can be so much easier. Thank you for joining me for another episode of Homemade. And until next time, continue to be great.